Cheers and salutations. Welcome one and all to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe and hit that ring bell notification. That way, all of you are made aware when we upload new content upon our YouTube channel. And today, we have ourselves a fun video. And I think, this resonates close to my heart. It has to deal with the history of Poland. Now, I have to say, my grandpa, may he rest in peace. I miss you, Richard. He is Polish and he loved Polish history. And this is from Eastory. So you know what? Since it's the new year, and unfortunately it's the first new year without him, I am going to watch this in his honor. So shout out to Eastory. For all the videos that we check out here for Americans Learn, so we can get our learn on. The original link to the video is in the description box below. So let's go ahead and check this video out in a 3, a 2, a 1, and I hope the first week of the new year has been working out for all of you. Take care of yourselves and each other, and let's enjoy this.
Commonwealth, the largest and most prosperous state in Eastern Europe. Yet 150 years later, the country was no more. All of its lands had been divided by its neighbors, and its existence soon a distant memory. So what happened? This is the story of the Deluge, the beginning of the end of the Commonwealth. This story began from seemingly unconnected events. In the 16th century, the Commonwealth's nobles began to burden the peasants more and more. Many peasants sought to escape their servitude.
Okay, the drawings in this, again, funny.
At the same time, there was a frontier where there were no nobles to pay taxes to and free land for everyone that could till it. And that is where many of them set foot. No, it was not the New
The USA.
World. It was the frontier in the steppes between the Commonwealth and the lands of the Tatars. The steppes were a lawless place, always in danger of Tatar raids, so the settlers had to be
And no, not the Tartar sauce. The Tartars are a completely other different animal altogether. So when they were coming, you had to be ready to fight. Plus, I think, at least from what I can remember, most of my family members, or at least on my grandpa's side, my mom's side, my grandpa's side, come from Poland. So it is rather interesting. I do know that my great grandfather was born in Chicago, and he could trace his roots back to Poland. So I think, yeah, maybe I have to look more into it.
Well armed and organized to survive and prosper. They became known as the Cossacks. Eventually, the Commonwealth's nobles caught up to them and wanted to bring the settlers back into serfdom. By that time, the Cossacks had grown in number and power. They claimed that by settling in the borderlands, they were in fact protecting the Commonwealth from Tatars, and they should be paid for it.
Oh.
This led to a series of Cossack rebellions that were all put down, and
they're coming for your guns. Oh, no, don't bow down.
The rights were curtailed. By mid-century, the borderlands were a powder keg for a new rebellion. In 1648, another revolt began. The Commonwealth garrison forces moved out to suppress it. They divided themselves into 3 groups in order to quell the revolt quickly. 2 of them moved forward, while 1 stayed back as a reserve. However, the rebellion turned out to be stronger than expected. First, the Cossack contingent of the Commonwealth army defected to the rebels.
Whoa!
Then the second force was encircled and destroyed. The Cossacks caught up with the reserve force and defeated it. The Commonwealth's garrison in Ukraine was virtually wiped out. Soon the Orthodox peasants joined the Cossacks in rebellion, and all of Ukraine fell to the rebels.
Wow.
The Commonwealth had plenty of resources and sent yet another army against the Cossacks.
Okay.
However, due to the political nature of the nobles' democracy, military offices were often given out according to status and not merit. And here 3 different lords were put in command of the Commonwealth forces. The Cossacks exploited this deficiency and won another victory. Their hold over Ukraine was secured. During the crisis, the king of the Commonwealth had died, and the nobles elected his brother, John Casimir of the House of Vasa, to be the new king. He was to be the one to take the Commonwealth out of the crisis. The king took personal command of the army. After some inconclusive fighting, the Commonwealth was able to leverage its sizable military superiority, and the Cossacks and their allies were defeated. This put an end to their expansion. The Cossacks alone were not very formidable, but their strength was in their allies. They had made alliances with the Prince of Moldavia and the Crimean Tatars. The Commonwealth decided to deal with the Allies first and then take on the Cossacks. The Commonwealth's military expedition to Moldavia failed, so they resorted to diplomacy to make neighboring principalities invade Moldavia and depose its ruler. Moldavia was out, and it was time to deal with the Tatars. The Tatars' interest in the alliance with the
I can remember when I was a kid, my grandpa talking about stuff like this. Cherish the time that you have with your loved ones, folks. Truly, you must. But this drawing right here, you got the Tartar stealing a little loot. He's got a loot crate. I wonder what kind of wonderful gems he's going to have.
Cossacks was the opportunity to raid the Commonwealth for loot and slaves. During a campaign, the Tatars would have to join the Cossacks, move into the Commonwealth, defeat the Commonwealth's forces, capture the slaves, then get safely home with the slaves, and finally sell them on the Crimean slave markets for profit. John Casimir offered them a better deal. The Tatars won't support the Cossacks and they get paid. Tatars saw this as a better option and abandoned the Cossacks. John Casimir prepared to conquer their lands for the Commonwealth. The Cossacks were now backed into a corner. They asked help from Russia and offered the Tsar to become his subjects in return for military aid. Russia wasn't as strong as the Commonwealth. It had lost several wars to the Commonwealth earlier, and it didn't seem to be a good idea to start another.
Yeah, the first 3 attempts don't look that good. Well, it looks like they're going to have to, reconsider. Forced time is not the charm.
But the opportunity to become the dominant power was too good to pass on, and Russia risked it. If Russia committed all of its forces to the struggle, it would be able to meet the strength of the Commonwealth. But it could afford to do that for only a few years. If the war couldn't be ended after the initial years, Russia was in trouble. So the Tsar put all the eggs into one basket and launched an all-out attack. In 1654, the Commonwealth sent its main force to the Ukraine against the Cossacks. Russia dispatched some forces to make sure that the Cossacks wouldn't be fully defeated. At the same time, the main force attacked in Lithuania. With the Commonwealth's main force in the south, Russia was able to catch them off balance and conquer the province of Smolensk. Meanwhile, in Sweden. Sweden dreamt of being a great...
Sweden, the Vikings. It's pretty sweet to be in Sweden. I think that's, also they're eventually going to be setting up the great IKEA and, heaven forbid, the dreaded forever IKEA from SCP.
Power. In order to achieve that, it saw the need to conquer all of the coastline of the Baltic Sea and turn it into a Swedish lake. By that time, it had already made some good progress in its conquest. Now, the neighboring countries weren't fond of this, and Sweden had created the most modern army in the region to protect its possessions. This army was very expensive to
All your base belonged to us, all your sports belong to us.
Maintain, however, and Sweden wasn't the most prosperous country. So it had a habit of sending its army occasionally abroad to have their neighbors pay for it. In 1654, the treasury was running low once again, and the army needed to be sent out on another campaign. But the question was, where to send it? 3 countries had their possessions near the Baltic: Denmark, the Holy Roman Empire, and Commonwealth with its vassals. The Holy Roman Empire had just been devastated by the 30 Years' War. Meanwhile, Denmark was small and
of course, eventually the Holy Roman Empire would soon become Germania. But the Holy Roman Empire could not last forever.
Relatively poor to sustain the Swedish army for a long time. Meanwhile, the lands of the Commonwealth were vast and had enjoyed a relative peace for decades. So, Commonwealth it was. In the summer of 1655, the Swedish army invaded the Commonwealth. Local nobles gathered to meet the enemy. However, after seeing the Swedish army, they figured that there was no way of defeating it head-on. So they had to weigh other options. The Commonwealth was under attack from 3 different sides and needed a strong army and leadership that King John Casimir hadn't been able to provide. His detractors argued that the only way to save the Commonwealth was to recognize the Swedish King Charles as their king. With his powerful army, he would surely defeat Commonwealth's enemies.
Say hello to my little friend! That was the 203 of its era. But instead of being a 203 grenade launcher, it was a big old ball.
So the nobles decided to bend the knee to the Swedish king and recognize him as the king of the Commonwealth. Other provinces followed, and soon the Swedish army entered Warsaw, the capital of the Commonwealth. The Swedes made it their goal to capture John Casimir. He hastily gathered an army, but it was no match to the Swedish forces and was easily defeated. The king fled to Krakow, but with the Swedes closely on his tail and with many of the Commonwealth's nobles defecting, he had no choice but to flee to the Holy
Well, it's too late, buddy. You're no longer king. Ah, man, he must have been panicking.
Roman Empire. With the Swedish invasion, the Commonwealth's army fell into disarray. The resistance to Russia had collapsed. Its forces spread out, taking over large swaths of territory. The remaining soldiers and territories attempted to save themselves by swearing allegiance to the Swedish king. By the end of 1655, most of the Commonwealth found itself under foreign occupation. The Commonwealth had lost all of its armies and its king had fled the country. Was this the end? Well, no, because in the next episode, the Commonwealth will strike back. Thank you to all the cast and crew for helping this video see the light of day. You may be
All right, so he's got people pretending to be the characters. That's wonderful.
wondering, why have I suddenly made a video about the 17th century Poland? Well, my Patreons on Patreon, the people whose names you can see on screen now, vote to choose the subject of the next video from 3 topics, and this time they chose the Deluge. After the second video about the Deluge, we'll be back to 1940.
Okay, well, first of all, that's awesome that he has such an active patron base. That is really cool that he's got people supporting him, and that's why we encourage here on Americans Learn to check out all the original video links in the description box below. We do this for every single video that we check out here. It's important to get our learn on. There's a lot of things I didn't know just about the massive inequality by the Polish nobles, the fact that there was, so much resentment being built up. It's understandable why people would maybe get tired of it, and because it had a long time of peace, it led for stagnation and, lack of innovation, which opened the door for various factions such as Russia, the Kingdom of Sweden, and others, and rebels to rise up and start, taking out the Polish Commonwealth piece by piece. But the next episode, we're going to check out how it comes back. So, you know what? I will follow through with that and check it out as well. And I do hope that all of you will check out Eastory's channel and support his content because it's the right thing to do, especially for the new year. Come on, it's the right thing to do. But was there anything that stood out to you, especially in regards to watching this video? For example, there's one thing that always stays in my mind, especially when we talk about battles, because we've seen people when we've watched other YouTube content creators who cover history about great events, battles between nations and kings and warriors. And I'm always wondering, like, what's going on in the mindset of the guy who loses, like the king who lost his entire kingdom. Like, what are they going through? It must be like a huge, massive stress or panic attack. Like, the amount of stress and fear has to be unknown. So it is something to check out or something to think about. But also in regards to Sweden's modern army, is there a video or maybe a channel that we should check out that covers Sweden's ability to become so modern for its time? I would like to know more about Sweden and how it was viewed as a superpower and how its neighbors viewed it at the time as well. After all the ports belong to Sweden. How's IKEA going to get here anyways? So until then, folks, I want all of you to take good care of yourselves and each other. Enjoy 2024. May it be very prosperous for all of you. Drink water. Keep your heads on a swivel, and I'll see all you hip cool cats on the flip side. My name is Kit. This has been Americans Learn. Take good care of yourselves.